Hello there, people of YouTube and beyond. I'm Marcus Chenoweth of Rogue Renegade Productions, and today I am excited to bring you an all-new series that gravitates away from the channel's usual content. For those of us in Generation Z, there's a lot we're nostalgic for. Toys, commercials, TV shows, and of course, movies. The good and the bad, the classics and the critically panned, the latter of which is our subject of discussion today. I want to take a look over films that were not well received at the time that they were released, but hold a special place in the hearts of those that are in my generation. And one thing I want to get perfectly clear right off the bat is that not all the movies that I want to take a look at in this series are strictly Generation Z, as many millennials also have a soft spot for these kind of movies, so think of the title more as someone in this generation looking at these movies. Instead of going for a pure nostalgia critic route, I want to try to come to the defense of these movies, define their merits and judge them for what they are, cinema. I'm not going to look at every glaring issue, though I will address some of them. For the most part, I want to focus on the good with these films. I figured there could be no better start than the 2002 live-action adaptation of Scooby-Doo. Based on the cartoon most of you will recognize, the film came out to bad reviews and overall poor reception, the exception to that being everyone's praise for Matthew Lillard's performance as Shaggy. Nowadays, most people argue it's either bad or a total guilty pleasure. I, however, will mostly look at the good in this movie, along with the others I wish to review with this series. With no further time to waste, I present to you Scooby-Doo. The movie opens up with a bite being taken out of the Warner Brothers logo. Good thing Bugs wasn't there. We see Mystery Inc. hot on the case of the Luna Ghost at a toy factory. And while the roles aren't 100% accurate to the original cartoon, right away we're able to recognize the classic characters as they do what they do best, with the movie doing a decent job of setting up who's who and what they're like for newcomers. One of the film's stronger points is that the actors are very believable with their roles, especially with Scooby himself, who not only sounds good, but looks good too. The CGI in Scooby holds up okay. The same really can't be said for the rest of the effects in the movie, but having it work for just Scooby is fine with me, not to mention without everyone interacts with him. He feels like he's really there, no Jason Lee looking at imaginary chipmunks levels of disinterest. When Scoob jumps into Shaggy's arms or punches Fred, it actually looks like they're reacting to him. Hijinks ensue as they try to capture the Luna Ghost, including Shaggy and Scooby busting out some skateboard tricks that would land you a few hundred points in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. They crash into the ghost, knocking him out, which is immediately followed by Pamela Anderson bursting through the factory walls in the Mystery Machine. Hope she's paying for that. They unmask the Luna Ghost and the gang departs, but things quickly turn south.
I quit. You can't quit. I was gonna quit in like 2 seconds.
Wait a minute. Maybe I quit. Do I quit?
And there's a subtle thing that one can notice if you look close enough. Fred, Daphne, and Velma all came in separate vehicles. They're not even traveling in the Mystery Machine anymore, hinting that tensions might have been building for a while, which finally boiled over here. 2 years pass and we see that Shaggy and Scooby love creating fake-out scenes, a la the van scene from Cheech and Chong. But their holiday is quickly interrupted as a man invites them to Spooky Island, a horror-themed amusement park where his employer, Mr. Mondavarius, has need of their mystery-solving expertise. They agree, after being offered an all-you-can-eat buffet.
All you can eat?
And we cut to an airport where we see Fred reading his own book, Fred on Fred. Velma and Fred chance across each other, followed shortly by Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appear to have some sort of octogenarian war criminal about to board the flight. Can we please have someone get on this? Thank you.
And Velma pieces together that they were all invited for the same purpose. And here we see Shaggy and Scooby trying to bring them all back together, but to no avail as Fred, Daphne, and Velma argue amongst themselves. Another thing that you can notice is that when Fred, Daphne, and Velma argue amongst themselves, they never point any fingers towards Shaggy and Scooby, as Shaggy and Scooby are seen to be the glue that holds everyone together, which I think is a great touch and adds a lot to them as characters. Everyone boards the plane to the resort, and it's here that we meet Shaggy's love interest of the movie, Mary Jane. They hit it off well, Scooby punches Fred, and tries to eat a cat. Overall, less hectic than most commercial flights to Florida. While there's not a whole lot to Mary Jane, she and Shaggy do have some decent chemistry together, and we get to see another side to Shaggy, which I think is great.
Nobody's ever given me a stuffed dismembered head before.
They arrive and the gang is greeted by Mr. Monokumatosis himself, who details the strange things he's noticing happening to the people coming and going from the island.
Can you notice any difference between those arriving and those departing?
They look like sober, well-behaved college kids.
Precisely. And they didn't before they came.
Also, might I just add that I love how Spooky Island looks. The voodoo tiki horror thing it has is truly unique. It's a place where you can pause and see something new every time. Later that night, Velma sees a recreation of the rituals that once took place upon the island, learning that it was once inhabited by demons who are now angry at Mr. Monotheism for building his theme park on their sacred land. Scooby even comes across one of the demons himself. Like I said earlier, while I can praise the CGI on Scooby, I can't praise the CGI for everywhere else in the movie. It almost looks like two entirely different teams animated these characters. Daphne next converses with a voodoo priest who lives off the beach, warning her not to go into the spooky island castle, which Daphne takes as him telling her that just so she will go there. Daphne heads there along with Shaggy and Scooby.
Ow, hey! Hong Kong Phooey, watch the Fist of Fury, would you, buddy?
What kid watching this is gonna know who Hong Kong Phooey is? Everyone, including Fred and Velma, all meet up in the castle and decide to split up, but a bit differently from how we usually saw the gang split up.
Daphne, exit through the entrance. Velma and I will enter here through the exit there. And Shaggy and Scooby, do whatever you guys do.
As they explore, Daphne comes across a device called the Damon-ritis. Shaggy and Scooby unwillingly partake in meat-based BDSM, and Fred and Velma come across a hidden room. Said room being full of brainwashing stuff to teach the monsters possessing the guests to act like seemingly normal teenagers. Then this occurs.
I'm not stopping till you're first, singed off.
Most I can say about this scene is that it won Best Fart in a Movie at the 2003 Kids' Choice Awards. The gang heads back to the hotel where we are given our list of suspects, the voodoo guy, Nagu Tuhuna, and Mr. Monoschematic Addict Insane himself. We also learn a bit more about the Damon-ritis as Velma talks to this guy. Oh, I didn't mention him. We see him in an earlier scene when Velma is at that ritual reenactment. The guy doesn't even have a name, literally it's on IMDb as Velma's friend. I'm just gonna call him Led Zeppelin Shirt. So Velma talks to Led Zeppelin Shirt and reminisces about the good old days investigating with everyone.
Shaggy and Scooby, what goofballs. And Daphne, so beautiful. Fred, oh, he was so handsome.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, but every family has one nut.
Scrappy-Dappy-Doo!
Yep, we're all reminded of Scrappy-Doo. He then pees on Daphne and is thrown out.
The time has come that you appoint me your unquestioned leader. Either that, or I'm out of here. What's the idea? You can't do this to me! People adore me!
I feel that while this scene is mean-spirited, it does kind of serve the cynical edge of this movie quite well. And that is what this film started out as, a cynical, more adult take on Scooby-Doo. Though there is a movie down the road I'll be looking at that does this, I feel, much better. Monsters then attack the hotel, capturing Mr. Mesothelioma, Fred, and Velma, leaving Shaggy, Scooby, Daphne, and Mary Jane to evade the monsters.
Fred and Velma always figured out everything. Now it's our turn, Shaggy.
This is another good scene, as with the leader of the bunch and the smart one out, it leaves the girl who is usually the damsel in distress, the two comedic reliefs, and a new girl on their own, trying to make the best of not having two essential parts of Mystery Inc. The next day arrives and everyone wakes up with the hotel suddenly repaired and the rest of the park seemingly normal again despite the previous night's destruction.
Like what happened to the shattered windows and the busted walls?
This is seriously never brought up on how it was fixed overnight. I guess it's the voodoo magic of the island, but it is seriously never given a proper explanation at any point. As they explore, it's clear something isn't quite right, and it isn't just Sugar Ray being the most 2000s thing this movie could afford. Either or. It turns out the monsters have possessed everyone, forcing Shaggy and Scooby to escape and pick up Mary Jane, who is also revealed to be possessed. Scooby tries to tell Shaggy, Shaggy doesn't believe him, and they both have a falling out. Quite literally as Scooby falls down a hole.
Scooby's been eaten. I gotta save him. You stay here, I'll be right back.
It's too dangerous.
I've got to. He's like my best pal. Friends don't quit.
While looking for his best friend, Shaggy discovers the souls of everyone who is taken floating in this pool. Shaggy frees Velma, who flies back to her body, discovering that the monsters can't stand sunlight, hence the need for human bodies. This is a good twist on the classic Scooby-Doo formula, as now instead of the humans being the monsters, it's now the monsters being the humans.
Thank you so much, you saved me, thank you.
Sorry, I'm looking for my friends.
Again, a scene that serves the cynical edge of this movie really well. Shaggy frees Daphne's and Fred's souls, and what ensues after is some of the better comedic banter and jokes of the movie.
Daphne, you okay?
I'm not Daphne.
He planned this somehow.
Like, why am I wearing a dress?
Unstable protoplasm in the proximity of the Damon-ritis.
Oh, Daph, what's wrong with you? Don't you ever eat?
Everyone's souls enter the right bodies, and the group comes across the voodoo priest Daphne met earlier in the film. He informs them about the Dark Apocalypse ritual, and we learn that once completed, it will allow the monsters to overtake the world, with the last thing they need being a pure soul. And Scooby-Doo himself is that pure soul. We cut back to Scooby and find out that Mr. Mondo Magoo is the true mastermind behind all of this.
I would like you to be a sacrifice.
Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Shaggy hatch a plan together to stop this ritual, save Scooby, and save the world. They get their plan underway, and as the ceremony is about to begin, things go haywire, and like always, Mystery Inc. has to improvise. Shaggy disguises himself, Fred and Velma attempt to blend in with the brainwashed cultists, while Daphne crawls her way outside. Fred and Velma are spotted, however, and their sick dance moves do nothing to help them out of this.
You failed!
Shaggy and Scooby reconcile, but that is quickly cut short by Scooby getting Shang Tsunged, while Mr. Bean absorbs the rest of the souls, but Shaggy runs to save his best friend.
Get off my pizza!
Did he just say get off my pizza?
Get off my pizza!
Oh, not even kidding. As a kid, I always thought he said pizza for some reason. Shaggy knocks down Mr. Monetization, Scoob's soul goes back to his body, and Mondo Variety is revealed to be one of Skynet's latest projects. Oh, and Scrappy-Doo too.
Puppy power! I'm outsmarted!
Who, fueled by the souls of the Damon Ritus, begins to transform. The gang tries to stop him while Daphne battles the luchador guy from Telemundo on the rooftop in what's honestly a really fun fight. Fred and Velma try to stop Magoo, while Shaggy confronts Mary Jane.
Crud! Roso! Yeah! Like, wow!
Well, in the best, Shaggy hasn't made a face like that since Scoob brought out the peanut butter. Daphne then overcomes the luchador guy and takes him down.
Now who's the damsel in distress? Me? Straight up.
Everyone's souls are then freed, Scrappy-Doo is defeated, and the monsters all destroyed. Fred and Daphne kiss, which there was build-up towards. Well, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar got married around this time, so par for the course is Fred and Daphne were always kind of an item, or at least that's what we were led to believe. Velma reconnects with Led Zeppelin shirt, and Shaggy reconnects with his best friend and Mary Jane. Scrappy-Doo, Nagu Tuhuna, and the luchador guy from Telemundo are all arrested, and Mystery Inc. vows to continue to solve mysteries. We then get an end credit scene of Shaggy and Scooby getting some of that all-they-can-eat that they were promised.
Zoinks! Them peppers is like hot.
Delicious!
Well, Garcon, let's get two more.
And there it is, Roger Gosnell's Scooby-Doo. Honestly, it still holds up all these years later. It's by no means a perfect movie or even a perfect guilty pleasure, but I personally think this movie has plenty to offer in terms of entertainment and rewatchability. While the more kiddie stuff is lacking, the adult humor I think is quite good and definitely got a laugh out of me each time. The set design I think is great and helps lend the movie something in terms of memorability. All the actors in this do quite well, especially Linda Cardellini and Matthew Lillard. Neil Fanning, while no Frank Welker or Don Messick, does a great job at being the voice of Scooby-Doo. Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar did great as well, but I think their time to shine really comes in Scooby-Doo 2. In my eyes, this is a great guilty pleasure movie and a real staple of the movies that those around my age grew up with and watched over and over again. I couldn't think of a better start to this series. Be sure to tune in next time as I take a look at Scooby-Doo sequel, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Thank you for watching Gen Z Reviews. Comment down below suggestions for movies that you would like me to take a look at in the future. And that's it for this review. Farewell and stay well.